Hi, welcome back. I hope you're doing good. Now that we have completed our assignment on cognitive and psychomotor domain of Bloom's taxonomy, let us get into the most important phenomenon of a body, the most important thing that runs our life, in fact. The most important thing with which we have our so-called moods, right? So let us talk about something related to feelings, something related to emotions. So that domain wherein we test our emotions, wherein we check upon our emotional development is all about affective domain. Affective domain plays a key role in anybody's interest in learning something new. If your affective domain is properly directed towards that learning, your learning is going to become very fast, more interesting, and at the same time to a deeper depth to understand new concept. It's all about your emotions towards that learning. So that's what we are going to discuss in this particular video session, and let us see how affective domain plays its part in any learning that happens. Have you ever come across situations of where somebody asks you, how was your day? In fact, most of the time, even during our regular conversations, we say, I hope you're doing good. In fact, your day was good. We wish somebody good morning, good afternoon, whatnot. So we do all these things just to make the other person feel good. The conversation becomes very interesting when the emotions there are very positive. So to talk about these positive and negative emotions, we need to know something more about emotions. Have you ever come across this term called as emotional quotient? Some people say that your emotional quotient is not that great. Some people say you that your emotional quotient is really high. Now when they say about emotional quotient, higher the number, better is the ability of an individual to handle certain emotions. The emotions could be something related to hypertension, something related to depression. Now, these were some of the problems that never ever existed in the world. I mean, it just came all of a sudden. We came to know something called as stress hormone, whatnot. I mean, there are a lot of things that are being taken into mind, and we stress upon things. The ability of an individual to handle these emotions is all about emotional quotient. Now, in fact, this is not just related to negative emotions. In fact, this is also related to positive emotions. Now, sometimes somebody becomes very happy. Have you ever heard the news that he was so happy that he got a heart attack and he died? So there are things like that which happens. So to address emotions in a particular way, in the desired way or in the right way, is all about emotional quotient. Now, this emotional quotient gets developed over the period of time. It's a slow process and it begins right on the day when you're born. You have an idea about that? Are you very happy that you were born today? On the day of the birth? No. In fact, you cry that day. The doctors tap you to make you cry for some biological things. But what matters here is, so right from that day, there are some developments that's happening in your body. These developments can be categorized into 5 major areas, and they call it as domains of development. Heard about it? Domains of development. Let me not dig deep into that. So I'll just tell you the 5 major domains of development, and these 5 major developments are, the first thing is linguistic. The second thing is emotion. The third thing is physical attributes. You grow, right? The third thing is physical attributes. The fourth thing is intellectual capacities. Your cognitive domain gets developed. Your brain becomes, bigger. Then right after that, you have something called as social development. So there are 5 major areas on which there is a development that happens. The first one is linguistic, second is emotional, third is physical, fourth is intellectual, and the fifth one is social. Now, if you observe very carefully, the emotional and social development go hand in hand. They are very closely related. Now, the children who are there in a joint family system have got a better abilities to connect with people when they grow up. So there will be more of extroverts. Not that introverts are not born in that area. Extrovert people are those people who seek the surroundings for talking to their brain, something like that. Introverts talk to themselves for some time and then they respond. That's why extroverts are quick in reaction. Introverts take some time, but whatever they say, it makes some sense. So again, let's not get into extroverts and introverts, but I would like to tell you there is a third category called as ambiverts. Ambiverts are the people who come into both the categories of introverts and extroverts. Let us talk about that later. But right now, the focus here is extroverts are the students or the people who are brought up in a surrounding where they meet a lot of people. So there is a lot of interpersonal skills that gets developed among them. But at the same time, the people who are kind of little isolated, so they don't have much interaction. The children do not have much interaction to deal with the surroundings. So there the aspect of extroverts goes down and introverts rises up. The point here is whenever I talk about emotions, they started getting developed right after the day you were born. So your emotional quotient depends upon your brought up, complete brought up. Sometimes some students come from a troubled background. It may not be just from the parents. The parents keep quarreling, they keep fighting, so the emotional development doesn't happen properly. Such children face a lot of difficulty in decision making. The students with troubled parents background also face a problem of fear. They get scared even if somebody talks on a louder volume. There are small things which actually directly affects your emotions. There are some things which actually provide you a better platform to develop. I mean, say for example, if the child is given with the right environment. During my days, I used to play with the children. I never had an access to the computer, so I never was there inside the house. In fact, my mother has to come out, she has to pull me literally inside the house, only then we go back to house. Otherwise, it used to be 3 to 4 hours of play outside, literally with literal human beings around of my age. But current scenario doesn't talk about that. It is important for children at that age to develop those emotional skills, and it's the responsibility of the parents and the teachers and people like us to give them that surrounding or an environment where they can actually deal with such things. Just like the way we discussed earlier, emotional development plays a key role in any learning. If your emotions are positive, only then learning can happen. The excitement of learning something has to be so high, and that height of excitement is completely determined by your experiences. If you are interested in playing cricket, so if cricket is your area of interest, how did that happen? It's because you would have gotten access to TV somewhere, you would have seen some people playing cricket, and you would have been amazed with the way somebody bats, the way somebody balls, or the way somebody fields. So it ultimately depends upon your experience, which completely caters to your surroundings, which completely is because of the guidance provided by the parents or the elders who are present around you. So for a child to develop properly with respect to emotions, that could actually matter to cognitive and psychomotor domain as well. It is important for the parents to provide the right surroundings. That should be the ultimate aim of any parent or any elder in that case. Now, when I'm talking so much about emotions and feelings, what I'm trying to infer here is ultimately any learning or any development in your life depends upon those emotions. Now, when I talk about emotions to this extent, why did we discuss cognitive and psychomotor domain in the initial stages? That's because that is very common and it could be easily understood because you would have experienced it. But learning emotions or learning affective domain takes a lot of time. It does not have multiple stages, but it has got lots to do with self-reflection. Every time I'm going to talk something over here, it is your responsibility to think about some learning that you would have done or something related to whatever I'm speaking here. So emotional development again is divided into multiple stages, which we will be discussing further. But before going ahead, the moment I talk about a scenery, please, if it's possible, you can even draw the scenery right at this point. You can just pause the video and you can draw it and then you can play it back. The moment I said scenery, you would have drawn something. How many of you have drawn a sun between two mountains? Right? Oh, majority of you have done that. That's great. That's great. So everybody would have drawn a sun between two mountains with a tree present over there. Probably a river is also flowing. I'm not sure if it's flowing or not. You would have drawn a house as well. Probably a dog tied to a small stone or a wooden piece. I do not know. Is there a boat flowing in the river? Definitely you would not have missed the birds flying. So these are some of the common things that you would have done. Majority of you would have done the same thing. Now the moment I say scenery, why does this picture come to your mind? It's completely dominant. If you see, all the people who have drawn a scenery right now would have done the same thing. What matters here is the kind of education that we were all provided with. The same experiment when it was done with children of age less than 10, I mean who were from less than grade 5, you would be amazed with the results. Everybody had their own way of looking at scenery. Some people drew a flower, some people drew their parents, some people drew a pot, I mean whatnot. I mean they drew everything that we cannot guess. And for them that's scenery. Probably they did not know what scenery is. Or probably what we know about scenery is not right. We can't say that. That's all about emotions. Kind of complicated, right? Let me directly get into the stages. Probably things will make sense right after this. Now when I talk about the stages of affective domain, the first stage that comes into picture is receiving. Now receiving is all about, you want me to tell complete stages first? Let me tell you that. The first is receiving, second is responding, third is valuing, fourth is organizing, and fifth is characterizing. Now, when I talk about receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing, I'm talking about 5 major areas of which an emotional development happens. Now, this development could be split into multiple substages as well, which we will not dig deep into right now. But yes, I'll be talking about them definitely in the video. The moment I talk about receiving, I talk about the information that you gather on a daily basis related to emotions. So you listen to things, and you tend to listen to things only when you're interested in that. Now, your interest directly depends upon what you have undergone in your previous experiences. Now, when I talk about receiving, there are 2 major areas of listening. So one could be active listeners and the other could be passive listeners. If a learning objective for a particular teacher is towards some learning related to emotion, it is the responsibility of the teacher to inculcate that interest in the children to bring their attention to that particular learning. Or else, if I have to put in simple terms, the teachers have to make the children an active listener of what they are studying. Bouncer? No? A little bit of confusion, right? Let me give you an example. If a teacher wants to talk about transport system, the moment she talks about transport system, it is responsibility of the teacher to tell the children or fascinate them with transport system. The teacher cannot say that, shall we study something related to transport system? So we have got cars and buses, these are road transport system. Then you have the trains which go on the tracks, these are called as railways. Then you have roadways which we discussed, you have airways, waterways, whatnot. This is not the way the class goes. They need to ask the children with questions that fascinate them. Now when I say fascinate, that could be their experiences. The questions like, have you ever traveled by a bus and at the same time saw a train nearby you? So the moment I say that, the students start looking into their experiences. And the moment they look into experience, some students come up with an answer. Yes ma'am, I have seen a bus. I was there inside the bus and I could see a train on the other side. Yes ma'am, I was there in the bus and my bus was standing and there was a barricade and the train was moving. We were waiting for the train to pass. Making the students talk about all these experiences when you talk about the transport system fascinates them. And this fascination makes them active listeners. So that's how they receive the information. Now for them to be active listeners, it is important for the right questions. So the right questions direct the students to right experience. The right experience leads them to right learning objective. This experience is all about the emotions that we are talking about. So that's the first stage, which is called as receiving. We need to make the children, or we need to make the listener, or the somebody who's talking to you to that area of expertise, so that they receive whatever you talk about. That's about receiving. Now right after receiving, you have the second stage called as responding. Now the moment I say responding, the students start talking about experience, the relevance of the experience, the level of excitement when they talk about that experience is all about response. That's all about responding. Now if the level is really high, where the students are very excited to talk about those experiences, trust me, you have gained their attention. Gaining somebody's attention is not an easy task. So when I talk about these experiences of the children, or of any listener in that case, triggering their emotions is very important for active listening. Now you have been looking at me, you have been looking at the video for quite some time, but how can we be sure that if you are actually listening to the thing continuously or not? That directly depends upon your emotions. So when I ask more personal questions, when I ask questions related to your personal experiences, that makes you talk, that makes you think about your experiences, that makes you think about you. When I say you, it's all about you, and when it is about you, the distraction doesn't happen. So giving importance to the learner's experience or learner's interest is the key to gain somebody's attention. Now this is a very difficult process in case of young children, because the kids, if you have seen, of grade 1 and 2, or in fact pre-primary, in that case, it is very difficult for you to get their attention. And once you get their attention, you can award yourself. You can award yourself for whatever you want. And if they get distracted, getting them back again is a very difficult process. It's not the distraction is not the right word. Probably they got attentive to something else. Now whenever young children or very small children, when they get attached to something or get attentive to something, their attention span is amazing. Their attention span is comparatively less, but the attention strength is very, very high. So getting them out of that is a difficult task. But for me, as an adult, if you talk to me something and if you have to distract me, it wouldn't take much time to do that. You would just like talk something else, and I'll be immediately dragged towards that. But that's not possible with the young children or the small children or the kids, as I said. So I think pre-primary teachers, if somebody is looking into this video, probably will be able to connect with what I'm trying to say right now. Anyways, coming to the point. So let us continue further. The first thing is receiving. The second thing is responding. And the third thing is valuing. Now, once you start receiving and responding to things, there is a kind of attachment towards that learning that happens. Now, when I talk about learning a bicycle, as we have taken for cognitive and psychomotor domain, whenever you receive information from the instructor with proper guidance that was done, with proper interest generation or whatever, you start responding to their questions. Now, once you do things by yourself about those receiving and responding, there is kind of an attachment that happens towards that learning. Now, when, say for example, you're sitting on one side of the car holding the steering wheel, and the instructor is sitting right beside you, and he says that the way you have held the steering is very professional. You've done a good job. That's really great. So have you ever sat in the driver's seat before in your life? Questions like these, where a small kind of appreciation, the moment that's given to you, you kind of attach yourself to that car or to the steering wheel. It could be something else as well. If I talk about the bicycle here, the moment somebody says that you're doing a good job, a kind of appreciation. So it's very important for the instructor to give appreciation right after the response. And at the same time, that appreciation makes you or gives you a space of attaching some value towards that learning. Now that's called as valuing. You know what? Right after this, it's an amazing technique. Once you keep on adding a lot of values to everything that you learn across, it could be a new language, it could be learning a new person, it could be learning a new skill, whatnot. Once you start attaching these values, after a certain point of time, you start prioritizing them. And once you're prioritizing them, you keep one value the other. One value over the other. And when you keep on doing that, you try to organize yourself. And when you organize yourself, that thing is called as your own unique value system. Now here comes the priorities. And decision making also plays a key role in this case. If I ask you, are you interested in riding a bicycle or driving a car? The moment I ask this question, you try to prioritize according to your value system, which comes first. That's called as organizing. Now there are some times where such questions should not be asked, because this child or the learner would have kept both of those learnings at the same value system. Sometimes it does happen. Say for example, questions like, whom do you like the most? Do you like your father the most or your mother the most? Questions like these should never be asked to the children. Now because they would have kept father and mother at the same level of their value system. But when you ask a question like this, they are forced to keep one above the other or one below the other. So indirectly what we're trying to do with their value system is mess up with it. And when we mess up with it, there is a priority that automatically gets set there, and tomorrow in future there's somewhere subconsciously you start supporting the person you like the most. And that like actually came because of the instructor there. So when even most of the parenting sessions, you would have heard from many psychologists or therapists, or many people would have said to you that never ask questions like, whom do you like the most? Do not ask. Do you like maths or do you like social? Do not ask. Do you like riding a bicycle or do you like driving a car? Do not ask. Let them know. Let them know. And if there are situations where it comes where they really have to prioritize, let it happen automatically. Let's not trigger that. And when the triggering happens during the learning phase, it becomes very difficult for them to prioritize again the same thing later on. So these are some of the things about the affective domain. Affective domain is very sensitive, right? There are a lot of do's and don'ts for an instructor. Let us go to the next level, that's called as organizing. So right after valuing, just like the way we discussed, you have got your multiple values attached to multiple learnings, because of which you arrange it in a certain order or you prioritize, and this fact is called as organizing, right? Right after organizing, multiple organizing becomes your character, and that's what we call as characterizing. Now your character is not just like the way, it did not form, it did not get formed just like that. It's because of all these levels of receiving, responding, valuing and organizing, because of which your character gets formed. Now at character level, based on your value system, you create your own character with which people start learning from you. Looking at the way you respond to things, people start learning from you. If your character is at that level of influencing something to learn something, trust me, your learning of that learning is simply amazing. I'm sorry, I think too much of learning happened here. Let me repeat that, break it down to you. At this stage, your response to the learning of bicycle, if it is at a level that influences the other person would want to learn it. Say for example, if somebody is very good at something, so let us take an example of Mahendra Singh Dhoni right now. So he is an extremely good batsman. He, in a cricket, like if you talk about football, people love Lionel Messi or people love Ronaldinho. So when people love these people, because the character of their reflection of that learning is so amazing that you get influenced by it. The aura around that person is so attractive that you feel like being with them, knowing things about them, knowing things about the skills that they have acquired, and you want to learn them. So that's about characterizing, it goes to that level. Okay. So anyways, so with respect to affective domain, so these are the major stages: receiving, responding, you have something called as valuing, then organizing, and then characterizing. Just imagine, these are the bifurcations of multiple domains. You have got the physical attributes of psychomotor domain, you've got the emotional attributes of affective domain, you've got intellectual attributes of cognitive domain. All these things play a very important role simultaneously when any new learning happens. If a teacher is completely focused on teaching something cognitively, the learning happens there, but it is not complete. The learning may not sustain in the brains for a longer time. So hence psychomotor domain comes into picture and has to be catered to. More than psychomotor and cognitive domain, it is important for the affective domain to play a role for further learning to happen forever. Now if I talk about, that's how people choose their career. Now generally when I ask who is your favorite teacher in the school, you would come up with an answer about a teacher and that answer might directly relate with your job that you're doing right now. If you say maths teacher, probably you're good at maths. If you say social studies teacher, probably you're good at social studies right now. So what matters here is the teacher is deciding a career of a particular student or an individual. Now that has got immense responsibility there. When you talk to someone, you are influencing someone to choose their life. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. So it is important for every instructor or a trainer or a teacher to be very precise, to talk the right way. And that's a huge responsibility. And that responsibility, once taken, cannot be taken back again. Once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher. And some people are really passionate about it. Trust me, you've got a lot of thanks. I mean, one day when these students of yours, when they come out with flying colors in their life, they remember you. They remember you either for your positive effect on them or your negative effect on them. So it depends upon your teaching, your way of instructing things, whether if it's positive or negative. With this, I would like to complete the session on affective domain. We will take multiple examples of affective domain and psychomotor domain and cognitive domain put together and talk about various scenarios and try to fit into either of these three areas. And let's learn further. I hope affective domain was pretty precise and clear. I hope each and every stage that we were talking about is related to you as well. You thought about an experience about these things. If that's not done, I would request you to just think about these stages again and come up with your own ideas of, see, emotional development is all about your own judgments about yourself. Just like the way we were talking about metacognition, where your brain thinks about your brain itself. So this is emotions about more on self-reflection. So what I would like to request you to do is just go through these stages once again. So receiving, responding, valuing, organizing and characterizing, and try to fit your instructions or your teachings in these areas and try to come up with questions that trigger somebody's emotions to build that curiosity. So Dr. Benjamin Bloom always stated that every statement mentioned by a teacher should be cognitively intriguing, associating that with some activity, ensuring that there is a curiosity instilled among the children. Cognitively intriguing, associating with an activity, ensuring curiosity is instilled. It's all about that three aspects, and once these three aspects are mastered on teaching and learning, things become much more easier and your area of interest on a particular learning becomes much more enriching experience to you. That's all. So let us discuss about further examples of these three domains in further videos. Till then, take care. I'll see you in further videos. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment box. I'll reply to them as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your time. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you next. Take care. Bye bye.